Welcome to Tom Girl, where we talk all things sports, entertainment, fashion, and adventure. Today's guest is a Hollywood makeup artist with a plethora of credits under her belt, working with some of the biggest names in entertainment on features and series such as The Hunger Games, Project Power, Vice, as well as the hit TNT series Claws, amongst numerous others. In this episode, she'll talk about her career, how she prepares the looks for the character she works on, and also dish on all the go-to makeup tips and tricks we've all been dying to know. On top of that, we'll talk about being a single mom and doing it all. Welcome to the show, Ignacia Soto-Aguilar.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Thanks for having me. It's so crazy. Like you're talking about looks and tips, and I'm looking at my own hair like, oh gosh, should have brought a brush.
Your hair looks gorgeous. And I Instagram stalking you, seeing how you color all your own hair a lot and always do
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think when you're on the road and you work the hours that I work, there's no time to go to the salon, I mean, I basically have a salon at work.
Yeah.
But when
Have
you're
you ever
staring at a
had
mirror all day.
have you ever had any like major fails doing it yourself?
Oh my gosh, yes. Do not order brow dye from vendors that you don't know. I did that one time I was in Atlanta on a show, and I was like, oh, I could totally dye my own eyebrows, and I just ordered something from online, and all of my eyebrows fell out. Maybe it wasn't that dramatic. Maybe not all of my eyebrows fell out, but that's the memory that I have. You know how we make our memories bigger than the reality? Like in my mind, I had no brows, I had no face. It all just fell off.
You just have to wait for them to grow back and then just color them in before then?
Yeah. Yes. Well, I use Latisse for my lashes too, so I was just adding them on my brows too, and I think that's what helped.
I think we all have one story. I remember in college, it was right before our basketball like picture for our like the poster, and I was like, oh, I want to be a brunette. I was brown, so I was like,
oh no,
I was like, I mean, no, yeah, I was blonde, so I was like, yeah, I'll just do it, and I just it was green, all green. So I had to call luckily a high school friend who owned a salon in Omaha at the time came to my rescue and fixed it up at least, a little more presentable. So, but anyway,
even back then we couldn't just ask them to Photoshop our stuff for the yearbook,
right? Exactly, totally.
Yeah, now it's like, can we please put a filter on that?
I know filters are the best.
I know.
Yeah. Well, I want to start by just getting to know you more. So, how did you find your passion for makeup, being a makeup artist? And so kind of tell me, I know you started out, you grew up in Chile. So kind of tell us a little bit more about your journey.
Yeah. Well, I've always gravitated towards just using color and drawing art. I spent a lot of time in my room. I was in boarding school growing up, so I didn't really, I was in my room most days. And drawing, painting was all I loved doing. I would actually get in trouble sometimes for not going outside and playing because all I wanted to do was read and draw and paint. I think that just stayed with me through my life in my teenage years. I was gonna go to law school. I went to college. I'm a political science major, and I was gonna go to law school after that. But I just one day woke up. It was so weird because I feel like every decision I've ever taken, like a huge decision, has always been that. Like I wake up one morning and I'm like, I'm gonna do this today. I remember I was applying for law school, and I was like, you know what? I don't think I'm gonna do that anymore. I'm gonna go do something with art. I don't know what it is yet, but I'm gonna go do that. And I called my dad and I told him, and he was like, wait, what do you mean? What? But I was like, I'm just gonna maybe go to hair school. I don't know. I don't really see how art could really be incorporated into a money-making lifestyle yet. And then once I went to beauty school, and I went to Paul Mitchell in San Francisco, that's when I started to see the makeup side of things. I was like, oh, that kind of works with what I already love doing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started gravitating towards that, and that's how it happened.
And
slowly.
then how did you make your transition then to like being in Hollywood or being in the entertainment industry and working on various projects?
Well, so after that, when I was in beauty school and in college, I also did some jobs with photographers. Like I did modeling, or like I would do makeup for them on the side. And it ended up where I was in Alabama for a brief period of time, and they needed somebody to be a makeup artist for a reality show. And one of my photographer friends knew that I was there briefly, and she's like, "Well, why don't you just take that job while you're there?" And I did, and then I just got suctioned into TV after that. It went from reality to me being now the only person in Alabama that had any TV experience, or that, at least that's how I remember it. Maybe there were more people that had TV experience at the time, but I remember that was kind of why this particular production wanted me. It was a Nick Cage movie coming to town, and they needed somebody to do his makeup for a movie. And they reached out to me, and I think it was that, like, not really knowing what I was getting myself into and thinking that it was going to be this easy thing. I said yes to it, and I made it work. And it's funny, like, looking back at that experience now, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know how I pulled that movie off. But I did. And gosh, it's been what now, 11 years that I've been doing this.
What were those things that you said you were surprised you pulled it off? Like, what were you surprised about when you got there on set that you didn't expect?
I know. I never know if to tell this story because I feel like it hasn't been that long. But also, like, I feel like 1 year in this industry feels like 10 years. So you can say you've done this for 10 years. To me, it feels like 100 years now, you know? But the first movie with, you know, big names that I ever did was this Nicolas Cage movie. And he needed somebody that would give him a scar. And all I had done before that was beauty makeup. So whenever I was interviewed for this job, they were like, "Oh, you know, you have to know how to do scars, you have to know how to do tattoos." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I mean, sure." Like, I was in my head, I'm like, I'm gonna figure it out, you know. And they're like, "Okay, well, but can you meet with him tomorrow and show him the scar?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely, of course." So in 24 hours, I figured out how to do this. Like, I ordered the stuff, overnighted it, like, stayed up, you know, looking at videos. And I think that's probably the best scar I've ever done in my life. And I think it's the same thing, like, just not knowing how hard something is and pulling it off.
Yeah.
Yeah, now I would never attempt to go meet an A-list celebrity and do makeup on them, not knowing longer than 24 hours how to do it.
That's great though. What a fearless story, and what a good example of just saying like yes and then being like, I got to figure this out.
I know. It's also like one of those stories, like, I don't know if to be proud of it or not. I mean, I am, you know, like, because of the way that everything evolved to be what it is now. But it's just like, wow, I can't believe that actually worked for my benefit, because that could have gone really bad.
Yeah.
But
No,
no, but it was a good experience. I worked with Nick that whole film, and I learned a lot on that film. And yeah, he was great to work with. He was so sweet. So it was a good experience.
talk about some of the other projects you work on. I know you like Claws is a big new one you've done, and I like one thing I love about that is like even in all their promos and everything, like the wardrobe, the makeup, everything, like there's a lot of color, a lot of brightness. You know, can
Oh
you talk
yeah.
about how the different projects you've worked on have kind of varied, and what you liked about each one?
Yeah. I think with Claws particularly, I feel like when I was reading, I remember when I was learning about the project, I remember being like, oh my gosh, I feel like somebody wrote this thinking about me. Like, somebody, like, read my diary and saw what I wanted to do, and they wrote this story. And yeah, the wardrobe, Dolores Ibarra was the designer on that show, and she killed it with the clothes, the colors, the production design, everything was so beautiful. So when I was brought in to do makeup, you know, there was a high bar set, and I didn't come in as the department head designer until second or third season. No, it was third season. Second season I was the key. Third season I was the department head. So I had to just, you know, the direction that was given to me was, we need you to elevate, because we're going to elevate everything. So you're going to be part of that elevation of the looks. And it just felt like the I think why I do this is because I love storytelling, you know, and using my art to facilitate or to help tell someone else's story is how I found my part in the storytelling of movies. So I feel like that was what I was being asked, just like, go, grab the story and add your makeup into it and add to the story. Yeah, I think with claws, in comparison to everything else I've done, when I was asked to do claws, it felt like I was being handed this baby that was already born and already had all these like established ideas and like, um, and they were like, here, make it, race it now. So, and it was already such a beautiful baby, but being trusted with, because the instructions that I was given was, we want you to be a part of elevating the entire show, because they were bringing in more color, more claws, for season 3. And it almost felt like they were giving me permission to be creative too, because a lot of the projects you kind of already have a blueprint or what you're supposed to do. But with this one, it was very involved, the design aspect of it. So I was able to bring in people, my friends from LA, and just create this whole new team for season 3. So that felt very amazing. I think when you're given that much creative power, it just makes you work so much harder and makes you much more passionate about the project, instead of just following some rules or being an extension of someone else's paintbrush.
Yeah. Can you tell us more about like your process of what your job does entail from the second you get like you're working with this character, and how you kind of just make those decisions of what their makeup's going to look like and bring that character to life?
Yeah, no, yeah, that's always it's different for every project, because it so depends on the director's involvement or the writers or the network or the actors. I think that's kind of, you go into a project finding your water source, just like how you would go into a situation. You have to find who the person is that you have to compromise with. And a lot of the time, obviously, the actor is very involved, because they're the ones that are wearing the makeup and they need to feel like they're embodying the character that they're acting. But the director always obviously has to approve everything. So it's a collaboration. It's a conversation with the director, with the actor, and then some. It depends on if it's series or if it's movies, if the showrunners, which are the people that are in charge of the show in a network level, what their involvement is. Sometimes they just tell the director what to, that they have full power over everything. It all depends, but I think whenever my involvement in that process is, just presenting them with how, when I read the script, what I think it should look like. And after my conversations with both of them, I make a visual of what it could look like and what it could be. Because a lot of the times they don't really know how to explain how they want things to look. So that's my job, is to grab their words and put them in a visual form for them and say, hey, is this what you want?
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, I add my own thing in there, and then just act like it's their idea. Like, this is what you meant, right?
Yeah.
You meant that I would do all this glam, glitter, and blood on this character. Yeah.
How does it feel for you when you then see those characters when you're watching it back on the screen?
Oh, that's a really surreal experience. There was a recent one where it was a show that I recently did called The Premise, and there was a tattoo that they were debating if they were going to add it or not, and it just became this this thing where like they weren't going to do it at first, and then they added it again, but then we changed the words and the font, and the Fresh Prince font was kind of the punchline of the tattoo itself, being the character had chosen this Fresh Prince font, and that was the conversation we had. So that part made the script too. So like seeing the scene where the actor Ben Platt makes light of the fact that it's the Fresh Prince font, which came from a conversation that we had in the creative process. It was just like, oh, that's so weird that's like this Googleable scene now that I was a part of creating.
Yeah.
So just making that connection never gets old.
Yeah. Do you have like favorite looks that you like to create?
Um, yeah, I mean, It's funny because like I think my favorite looks to create are more like the ones where like somebody somebody woke up in the morning and they cried all night in the scene, so like what I could do to make that become just the thought that the viewer has when they see the actress, the red eyes, or how do we keep that in the scene,
Mm-hmm.
instead of, because before I used to think that I wanted to just make people pretty all the time, and now being able to just tell a story with the makeup, tell the story of this woman that stayed up all night, or this guy that's, been doing substance abuse for a long time, and he's, or whatever the story is, just seeing their face. That's what I love the most.
Mm-hmm. Now, how do you create looks like that? Like, how do you learn to make it look like they're crying? Or is that just using your natural artistic ability to know what like the colors would be on the face, or what's your process?
Yeah, I mean, for the colors of the face, yeah, I think that's more technical. Yeah, like if people's skin tones have a lot to do with the way that they bruise, or their undertones in their skin are going to determine more like what their broken capillaries would look like. So that takes more studying and research, to make that look realistic. And also having the conversation with the director of photography, the DP of the show, and telling him, hey, what kind of light are you using? You negotiate with him a little bit of what your makeup will look like. Sometimes you want to make things look a little bit more yellow, more red, because the lighting on set is going to counteract some of the light. So it's all very collaborative,
Mm-hmm.
I can't just show up with a makeup on set. There had to have been conversations with the DP, with the director, with wardrobe, like how is it all going to work? If there's blood on the clothes, wardrobe added their own blood to the clothes, so I would have been in charge of the blood on the face, but if something fell on the shirt, then that's wardrobe department.
Mm-hmm.
So that conversation had to exist so that the blood is cohesive from face to shirt, little things like that.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a dream project that you want to work on, making any sort of characters?
Yes. I think, I don't know so much dream project as much as just a dream scenario. I think kind of what I was talking about with like being part of the creative of the show. I think I would love to, and this is big dream, we're going big here. Be, executive produce a show, would be really awesome, and just be a part of the storytelling of it more, like
Mm-hmm.
I kind of felt that way with Claws, because I would, be able to just present whenever I wanted by the end of it. I think
Mm-hmm.
they understood that I understood the assignment at that point. But I think just to have more shows like that, I don't necessarily need the title. It's more just having that role of like being trusted with, having those conversations and bringing things to set, you know.
Are you talking then on the makeup side of it, or you want to have like your own ideas for a show overall?
Yeah, no, the makeup side of it, yeah,
Gotcha.
definitely. So like have the read a script, and then, because I mean, I guess like without really understanding how things work, I mean, there's just so many hoops to jump through before you can present something to set. So
Mm-hmm.
like to just be able to bypass that because there is um, creative freedom there, that would be ideal. And I think, I mean, there's a lot of, makeup artists that have achieved that with shows, like Aaron Kruger McCosh, who's a big part of American Horror Story, those kind of show, or department head and producer relationships.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sure.
They're ideal. And also, she's so amazing. She deserves it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Were there
gold.
any other like growing up or when you first started out, like makeup artists that you look up to, or certain projects that you just were like, oh, loving the looks in the series?
Um, it's so funny. I was just talking to my boyfriend about this. We were watching an 80s shows, and I think it was Total Recall that came out. Do you remember that movie with Arnold
Yeah.
Schwarzenegger when he
Uh-huh.
like pulls out the thing? And then I think that was like the first time I had seen a prosthetic piece on a show. And I mean, I don't necessarily know. I don't think I've ever done the research to know how much of that was CGI or post, but like, yeah, just the makeup on that was amazing. You know, I don't know if you remember, there was like a chest piece that Alien wore, and all the Mars stuff was really cool. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I still watch that and it holds up, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that's probably like the most memorable
Yeah.
one that I have. It's
Yeah.
such a random reference,
That's great.
but that's the one that I thought of.
Yeah. Switching gears a little bit. I'm sure you get asked this a lot, but we'll ask again for the odd everybody listening here. Can you give certain like what are some tricks of the trade that you know or tips just for like everyday girls doing their everyday makeup, you know, to help like with under eye like dark spots like I have
Mhm.
or you know wrinkles or you know just things that you're like, "Oh, this is my go-to or these are my tips you got to know."
Right. Yeah. No. Okay. So yeah. So you know, obviously that's the main question I get asked, and I always say the same thing. I mean, always wear SPF, drink water, get sleep. Moisturize is probably your least important thing, but you should do it, and wash your face. But aside from that, it's it's funny that you say that too, because I was doing my own makeup for this red carpet event this weekend, and I started to, you know, put mascara on and do my brows, and I'm like, why can't I look at myself as a makeup artist? Like, why am I still doing my makeup like I did in high school or, you know, early years of college? Um, so I think that, you know, not beat yourself up about it if you can't figure out what looks good on you, because even people like me who do this for a living still like have a hard time looking at themselves objectively and be like, what looks good on me, what.
Mm.
So it's okay to go to a professional and ask them what to do. That's the first step. But no, I think if you just pick, you know, two things that you like, you know, for me, i I do a lot with my lashes. So if I make sure that I have mascara on and my brows, then I feel good. You know, just pick two or three things that you want to focus on instead of doing too much every day, because then it just becomes a hassle or a job, you know, and nobody
Yeah.
really notices. I've come to find out.
Yeah. Yeah, those are good tips. Yeah, and I think it's so hard because it's like you know, when you have a professional makeup done, it's just so much better. Like I do that. Like, why
Mhm.
can't I do this myself? Or I don't know, you know, what to do. You know, I
I
just
do
wasn't a
too.
big, yeah, yeah. So where do
Yeah.
you go to? You like go to, are there any like YouTubes you go to or like ideas where you get like tips on how to do things?
Um, no, I mean, I haven't done that in a long time. I probably should, because I mean, I definitely look up like storyboards. I look up images and, you know, do research that way. But I probably should see more what people are doing. I think my son shows me TikTok sometimes, and you know, there's all these crazy hacks. Like I saw recently, there was like a spoon wing thing that people were doing. Um, so those are
Yeah.
always fun. But I don't know. I think I try to stay away from those, because then I will start, you know, trying them and
Yeah.
I don't,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. Well, speaking of your son, I know you've talked, you know, talk about being how you're a single mom and you know, are able to juggle both and do it all. What are some things that you've learned with that ride along the way?
with my son. He's so amazing. I haven't seen him. It's been a week and a half now. I think we have a 2 week rule where we have to see each other every 2 weeks. So it's coming up. So I know I keep looking around. I keep thinking like I'm hearing him. He's with his dad
Yeah.
right now. Um, he is he's 14. He's almost 14 now, and I've done this for a living probably most of his life, and it's been really difficult. Obviously, in the beginning, it was really hard because of you know, the traveling and him being so little, and trying to figure out what was best um, was really difficult until I stopped Googling,
Mhm.
because I always wanted to put him in homeschool, and I I felt like that was going to be the worst thing I could do to him, you know, because I feel like you're never going to find someone that's exactly you online. You're not, you know, if I Google single mom, film makeup artist, son, um, in, you know, whatever state, like there's not one person that has that experience. other than you, probably. And if there is somebody else, please reach out. We have a lot to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I think that once I like removed that, like I have to find a success story of what I'm doing before I do it. That's when I was able to just freely go and do what felt right in my gut. And I feel like that was the best thing I could have done. Like he's
Mm-hmm.
so happy and, you know, having such a good time in home, and he travels with me. He's homeschooled. He, you know, spends time with his dad, with me. He, I mean, things seem okay now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure, you know, I'm sure I'll come up um, in conversations with his therapist at some point of his life. But right now, things seem okay.
Yeah, that's great. That just has to, I just be so amazing to have him there to share your life with, and then also be able, have your career and, have women be able to do it all.
Yeah, yeah, and it's so yeah. I see it all the time. You know, I see women do it all the time, and those are the women I admire. So when
Mhm.
yeah, I know I'm having days where I'm feeling like, oh, so stretched thin, or you know, there's so much going on, or maybe I'm not mentally there, but I'm physically there. I'm like, okay, I'm doing the best that I can, and I'm loving him the most in the world, you know, regardless of, I mean, I'm not always going to be perfect, but I'm always going to be there, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Well, you also will switch again and talk about, I want to hear, you've been to one of the places that I'm dying to go to. So I want to hear about your Banff trip, your Canada trip.
Uh, yes. Oh, that was like the night. I don't think I've ever cried seeing something. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you just like see something so beautiful and you're like, your eyes fill up with tears. Like I'm not even kidding. That happened. Um, I was working on a show in Calgary, which is I think probably like about an hour from Banff. And I kept hearing about Banff. I didn't really know what was up there when I went there. It was like a last minute job I got. I'm not really geographically knowledgeable. And I just drove for an hour, got to Banff, and the water was turquoise, just everything was so beautiful. There's this lake called Lake Louise that's
Mhm.
there. Um, Gorgeous, 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 gorgeous. I want to go back so bad. I would tell everybody. I think I like have like 4 pictures on my phone where like two of them
Yeah.
I'm like teary eyed. And then I was like, okay, maybe I shouldn't be in every picture of this place. I need to take like I think that's when I was trying to work the panoramic view picture
Yeah.
when it was first out. And so there's like really weird Banff pictures on my phone. So I'm probably not going to post those. Just Google it. Um, they're
You
way
had
better.
you had a beautiful one on your Instagram though, the video, because I've always wanted to go there. It just looks so amazing. And yeah, you had a great one where you showed the lake and the little like scene
Yeah, yeah.
shot. It was like, oh,
I know, and I think it was foggy
breathtaking.
that day. It was foggy that day, but because when was I think it was like a July or August, so it was starting to get cold, but it was fogging up, and I think the best month to go there, from what I heard, was like like June.
Uh,
So definitely going back there.
yeah. Yeah. All right. We're all gonna have to go to that one. What other things do you like to do, like when you're not working?
When I'm not working, it takes me a minute after a long project to come back to me, to come back to my brain. You know, like I actually just got back from Miami yesterday from this event, this like week events that I had to do right after I did a Chicago show for 2 months. Right after, you know, I did that another New Orleans show. It's all been back to back, and I think I said, you know, yes to this podcast, you know, and I'm so excited to be here. But today I was like, wait, what does my brain like? Like, what do I like doing again? It does take me a minute to remember
Yeah.
who I am and to have conversations, even like call my friends and, you know, make plans, because I think when you do this for a really long time, you just get in that mode of working.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think today what I really enjoyed doing was ordering takeout, laying in bed, listen to music, and stare at my suitcases, and knowing that I
Yeah.
didn't have to put them away right away. So,
Yeah. They could just
because I didn't have
relax.
anything to do for like a week. Yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's what's felt right today.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I bet that, like, yeah, just taking that time for yourself too to, yeah, decompress, like you said, and get back to you and, Takes it out of you.
Yeah.
So it's good to come back to yourself. One thing that I also am just obsessed with about you is your watercolors paintings that you have on Instagram. They are just gorgeous. I
Thank
want to
you.
hear like how long you've been doing that and how you know, yeah, like how you do that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've been painting or doing some sort of art form of thing my whole life. I mean, I think like since I was a child, I've always, been drawing, painting, coloring, and watercolor just has really attracted me since an early age. I think because it's so, um, you can change it up. It doesn't stay that way. You can add water to it, and it moves again. And I like the idea of that. I like the idea of like its non-permanency.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, no, watercolor, it's so easy for me. I mean, it's just an easier way to if I don't like it, I can just throw it away.
Yeah.
It's like um, therapy for me. And also, there's no work attached to it. A lot of people ask me if I sell those pieces. And I think if I start to sell them, that's when it'll not be fun
Mhm.
anymore, and I just love the relationship I have with watercolor, that it's just whenever I want to pick it up, I do it. And then if I don't
Yeah.
want to do it for a year, that's okay too,
Yeah, you definitely just took my next question because I was going to ask you if you ever sell them and if you do any shows because they are spectacular. Like
Oh, thank
if you
you.
did
Yeah, no, I mean,
decide to sell them, you would sell them out.
well, thank you. No, I mean, I gift them. I'll
Yeah.
give them away before I sell them.
Mm,
Again, I think once I start charging money for them, it'll just become this thing,
yeah.
and not that I hate things I mean, if I'm doing a job for a film, I'm obviously getting paid and that I love it, but it's like this separate thing, that I don't
Yeah.
have to.
Yeah. That totally makes sense. It's your escape and your, passion and just kind of your release.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But no, but thank
Totally.
you for that. Yeah. And I'm
Yeah.
always going to keep looking at it. And then I need to maybe switch to acrylic or something, because I do look at them a lot and I'm like, oh, I should add more of this or that. So the non-permanency factor of it sometimes keeps me playing with it too long.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they're beautiful. Okay. Before we go, let me ask, what advice do you have for somebody who might want to be a makeup artist? What should they do for training, maybe school? How do they get into the industry?
hmm, don't do it. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, I mean, if you love it and if you feel like you're going to love it, if you feel like that's something for you, yeah, it's worth pursuing. Absolutely. Like anything else. I think the common denominator that most of us have, every time you ask anybody in film makeup, makeup in the film industry, what they did first, everyone's going to tell you, we worked at the mall. We
Mhm.
work at a makeup counter. We went through the ringer with, everyday people. Um, yeah, I mean, I think that's the first thing I would tell anybody: go work at a Mac, at a mall, um, and learn skin, learn ingredients, learn what goes together, learn what works, um, and use it like a little mini makeup school. And then start to uh, take pictures, do makeup for your friends, take pictures, create a portfolio. I think social media is so big now, use it for your advantage. We didn't really have social media to this capacity when I started. I'd had to
Mhm.
do the book portfolios. But now that you have social media, like, use it. Have a page, and meet local photographers, get professional pictures, and yeah, I mean, find somebody to shadow. Maybe reach out to some makeup artists that you want to work with, and maybe you'll get lucky and one of them will reply to you.
Mhm. How have you continued to get more jobs and keep working in the industry in the industry?
It's funny that, like, sometimes people will ask me for my resume, and I recently started to update it more, but for years I wasn't updating it because jobs just kept happening, people recommending me instead of
Mhm.
from a resume. And I think that's how this industry is. I feel like a lot of industries are like that, but this one in particular is very much like, a director liked you and recommended you, or they want to work with you again, or an actress wants to bring you back, or a producer, that likes the way you handled a show, they'll recommend you to somebody. It's very recommendation based. Mm-hmm. So I've been very lucky that I've found people that like the way that I work, and it's kind of evolved that way.
Yeah. Well, I hope you just more continued success. I'll keep following your Instagram and looking for your, more watercolors. and then, yeah, now I love too, being able to know like what projects you're working on and see the makeup and the different characters that you bring to life. It's really fun. So.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. And send me your address. I'm sure I have some watercolors and journals.
Okay. I'll take you up on that. Yeah. Awesome. Where can people follow along with your journey at? Yeah.
So yeah, right now I am on Instagram at Ignacia MSA.
Okay, great. Well, I want to thank you so much for taking the time. I know you are so busy and been traveling and been on projects. So I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to talk with us today and share your story.
Thank you. No, I appreciate you. And I'm glad that I was telling you that I staged this for you, but I'm glad that we didn't ask for a 360 of my suitcases and my mess over there. So no, but thank you. Thank you for your patience too.
Oh yeah. No, I told you it looks beautiful. And I said, I'm going to have the dog that's going to just do what he did where, he likes to make some cameos in these shows every now and then. Now he's like, okay, it's done. We got to go outside.
So, I know.
Well, thank you. And thank you guys all for watching again this week. You can follow us at Tom Girl TV everywhere, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, all the podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. So we'll see you next time and we appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Bye, JJ. Thank you.